Hey everyone, thank you for joining our session today on deepening meditation and going beyond the basics. We put out this name and then, we're not claiming to be experts or having reached anywhere or any such thing. It was just to sort of talk about this topic and the various aspects of it and share our journey and hear about your journey. Um, it's essentially sort of sharing all the wisdom that we've gained and the collective wisdom in the group. So that was the idea. And we put that just to make sure that we give space for anything deeper that's arising here and that comes up for sharing. That was the essential idea behind it or the intention. All right, you can just arrive here, whatever else you've been doing, if you can just that's done now. Just settle into wherever you are for the next few minutes, giving your full attention and presence here. We'll do a grounding practice. Find a comfortable posture. Gently close your eyes. And take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment and let go. Let your body relax as you settle into this present moment. Bring your awareness to the point of contact between your body and the ground. And you may be on the chair. You could still bring your awareness to your feet touching the chair and the chair touching the ground. So bring your awareness to your connection with the ground. Now imagine roots extending from your feet, extending from your legs, your spine, going deep into the earth. Feel the warm, steady embrace of Mother Earth. Feel Mother Earth holding you and supporting you. Let you feel into and stabilize in that connection for a minute. Now, with each inhalation, feel yourself drawing in strength from Mother Earth. And as you exhale, release all tension that you're holding in your body. For the next few breaths, as you inhale, you can scan your body right from your head. Notice any tension any stress, any tightness. And as you exhale, just release it into Mother Earth, goes in and dissolves into her soil. Move from your head down to your shoulders, your neck, an area where most of us hold a lot of stress. Just see if you can soften. And as you exhale, just release any stress and tension. Just give it to Mother Earth. Moving down your torso, down to your thighs, your legs. This process of release continues. As you inhale, take in strength, and as you exhale, release anything that you're holding on to. Come down to your feet, right to the tips of your toes, and release every last bit of tension and stress. Into Mother Earth. Now for the next minute, there's a gentle golden light that is rising from Mother Earth through your roots and into your body. Now this is a healing energy that flows right up to you, your legs, your spine, filling you with warmth and peace. Just be open and receptive. There's nothing you have to do. Let it nourish you in the way it knows best. Stay open and just receive this. This ever-present support from Mother Earth that we're just tuning into in this moment. You're grounded, whole, and supported. With each breath, feel this vital force nourishing every part of you. Take a few final deep breaths, feeling deeply rooted and calm. Now gently bring back your awareness over the next few breaths to your body, to your breath. saying thank you to Mother Earth for supporting indefinitely, infinitely. Whenever you're ready, with a gentle smile, you can open your eyes and emerge. All right. So, thank you for being here and being present. We'd like to start with an opening intention um, for this session. Let's set an intention for the session, and whatever is coming up is the right intention. So maybe just tune in, and you can either write it in the chat or share it with us, or you can just write it in your journal too, or just know it for yourself. State it to yourself, like what is your intention for this session? What is it that you would like to gain or drop from this session or during this session? Take a minute, and if you're ready, if anyone wants to share, you can go ahead.
What comes up for me is that, in this practice, maybe we can, have the intention to go an inch wide and a mile deep, to the depth wherever we can and wherever we need to, together as a group. So that's what came up.
Yeah, what's coming to me is the intention that may each of us receive that one a trick or a hack or a skillful means to get past whatever it is that is blocking us right now in our journey. And may each of us in this group receive that effortlessly, and may it be very simple and easy, and so simple that you'll be like, oh, how did I not think of this before? Or you might even feel, I already knew this, of course. So something like that, each of us, something will be revealed to each of us. That's my intention.
I think for me, what came up is like, when we get up in the morning and sometimes you have lots and lots of thoughts. So to have that clarity of mind with this practice that you build up or any other practice that you may have, that so from a lot of chatter to a lot of clarity and peace. And that something that you can return back to during the day, like, moments of pause when you can just really reassess, just like you replenish yourself with water, right? So the same way, like you drink water in the morning, you do your quota, and whenever you're thirsty for that clarity, just the grounding thing with, feet on the ground and the root, the meditation is just like anytime, just put your feet on the ground and you're back to that clarity. In this regular practice, just make sure that it gets deepened. So that's the intention for me and for everyone here.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
My intention is to try and get back to alignment and be as calm as possible in all the chaos that is happening around. And this is not only for me, but for each one of us. Always stay aligned and calm and just, keep going, because only when we are calm and in the flow of life do we experience miracles. I guess this is my intention,
Yeah.
because I've been so disoriented with all the chaos, in India. I just returned this morning, so I felt very disoriented.
Mm.
So I want to be back in my calm space and in my alignment and grounded.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Manisha.
Right, very beautiful what you said, that we, stay with the, not resist things, just we stay in the flow. Because when we stay in that flow state, when that comes, that's the most, that's what makes life most smooth and easy. And you say, like you say, miraculous.
Yeah, because that's when we are in that state of surrender, when we are in the flow state, it's like surrender. And that is actually the key, which we keep forgetting, and we have to keep reminding ourselves.
Well said. Okay, anyone else wants to share? All right. So the next thing we wanted to do was discuss briefly what does meditation mean to each of us? So I don't know, Puneet, do you want to kick us off?
So I'll tell you where it started from me. Maybe, after maybe around 2015, 16, I was looking for something, which I didn't know what I was looking for, because I was, I used to look for books. I used to have a long commute to work at that time. So I used to listen to books by Pema Chodron, and I found a lot of, wisdom in that. And I used to think that, this is like, it's very far out there. She left her worldly life, became a monk. I'm not in a position to do that. So how do I, connect with something like this? So that's, I think, where the question started. Like, how do I find this peace? How do I, because I used to go for, satsang very regularly, and while there was peace and very good community through all of that, but something was, there was still a lot of chat, a lot of chaos, a lot of noise in my mind. That was the biggest part. And so, uh, so when I started meditation initially, I would be like, okay, so what am I doing? I just have to sit here and just I have to do what? Get my breath. What does that mean? So it took me a while really to get into it initially. But the peace that, that clarity, that calmness that I found through this, that I don't think I had in my life before. It's really like a marked change. I feel in my state of my mind that, earlier how it was and now where it is. So that's, to me, is the biggest thing. And I also noticed that if I don't meditate for a while, you know, I can come back to it, but it takes that much more. The chatter and something is there a lot more. So now I keep it more and more uh, regular, as much as I can, at least a few minutes, at least just short this thing. So the coming back keeps happening, and I don't just go off into my stories, and it's made a world of difference. So that's what I can say. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. No, I can relate to that. For me, it's been very interesting because I was came across meditation when I was in college, I think, and also from at home there was a lot of focus on spirituality and those aspects. So I was reading books, and meditation itself at that age seemed I don't know what I did. I did something. Right now it feels like a touch and go kind of a practice that you do sometimes and then it dropped off. And then as I got into really deeper practice, like 5 or so years ago, it kind of accelerated um, in terms of how, if you just consistently do it and what changes it can bring, is what has been very beautiful to witness. And I feel the essence of meditation for me is not just a whole worldview shift of who I think I am and what my association to my thoughts is. So as I've practiced, as you sort of sit with yourself and you notice your mind do its job, you realize this is almost a separate entity in itself, and your relationship to it is what makes or determines your quality of life. And so that's been the most powerful recognition. And so to keep coming back when you feel like your mind has really got a hold of you and you're not in flow, like Manisha was saying, you're not able to surrender, you have all kinds of sticky thoughts instead of grateful thoughts, you have complaining thoughts and all of that, and you're sort of caught up in that story so deeply. This practice is what helps detach from that and create a little bit of space between who I am or awareness and these thoughts, which are just there, which are coming and going, feelings which are coming and going. So I think that's been the most powerful thing to even realize and keep experiencing on a regular basis, to sort of lose my way and then come back, to lose my way and come back, or just it gets covered over and you come back. So for me, meditation is essentially about, like, you take a bath, you kind of you go through your day, you get dirty, and you come back and you have a shower and you're clean and back again. So it's almost like you come back, you align. So it's not so much about what's happening during meditation, but it's so much about what it does to the quality of your life once you're done with that session or done with that practice. And so you keep coming back to practice. So that's what it is to me now. And even through the day now, instead of saying, okay, am I sitting and meditating? Even through the day, I'm able to watch how caught up I am in any story, how immediately reactive I am or not, what's happening through the day in my internal sort of system is what this has given me power to see, versus just being, I had no clue that there was any such thing, right? I was just like going with it. You're thrown into chaos, you're thrown into reactivity, you're just going through all of that, you're crying or whatever it is. There's no, almost like there's no separation. And now it's almost like there is a distance that just gets created slowly of like what's happening in life and what my association with that is. Yeah, that's my story, or what meditation means to me. Anyone else? We'd love to hear your experience, thoughts, feelings about meditation.
Meditation for me is that time which I can spend with myself. I can actually sit and reflect, which I try and do on a regular basis. And I think yeah, because I do it first thing in the morning, so it helps me set the flow for the day. And I realize when I do it, I the day does go according to how I want it. And the days I don't do it, it's a little haywire, which I have noticed. So I try to make it a regular practice. And it helps me like filter my thoughts and connect with my higher self. And I know there are a lot of things which bother me. Then I do a lot of self talk during that period. And that is very, very important, self talk. And that helps me get back to a state of calmness. I think that silence, that being with your, spending time with yourself is very, very important and uh, valuable and priceless and what have you.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said.
Right. Another thing I want to say is that, meditation, we take it as, it's part of spirituality. So we have to have some faith in a higher self or something. But, I feel it even works for people who don't believe in anything. There's like, you may not believe in God, you may not have, you may be complete atheist. And yet this is the one thing, because this is what will bring you to, like, like how you watch your thoughts, what's really going on, so that really being in touch with reality can come through this. And there's, you can leave out all that if, if you don't want to go, or for whatever reasons you don't believe in, being like God, or, you don't want to call it any of that, then it can still be very, very very useful, even in that way. And then, of course, if you add this along with wisdom teachings, which is the philosophy, you know, that how you can, trust in your process, you surrender. So if you add all of that, I think then it obviously does more. That's my experience. But even regardless, if you leave that all out and just do the practice by itself, it's it
Beneficial.
can be very complete in itself.
It's
All right.
healing as well, very healing.
All right. So next we want to jump to some of the common roadblocks. Let me share screen. Okay. Puneet, over to you.
Right. So sometimes, so there's like five hindrances. That's what, the Buddha talked about, the five hindrances that can come in the way of us, meditating. And that is basically coming from the part of us that is trying to control, right? Whenever we be very, controlling of how we want our experience to be, that's where, we'll be up against the hindrances. So, the way the Buddha explained is, I'll give you the five hindrances. There is sensory desire. So, and the way out of that is that basically, take your attention from all the five senses, from away from the five senses. So what you are hearing, what you are, what you are seeing, of course, you close eyes, but all the senses. But for me, the biggest thing, like in this way, in terms of sensory experience, what comes up most, that I can talk to is the physical pain. When you sit for a long time, how you want to, you can't sit still. There is, after some time, there is a discomfort, right? So I think that's one part, I think, which is often a hindrance for many people. You can't sit, sometimes you may have pain in the back, or you feel numbness, you feel your legs becoming numb, and that can distract from the practice. For me, that's quite real, because I have built it up to about 20 to 30 minutes is where I can sit. Anything beyond that, then I get physically uncomfortable sitting, especially if I'm sitting on a mat, or a cushion. And so, but the way past that is that you sit through it, you still notice the sensations, and you allow that to be. The main thing is in the pain that comes up or anything. It's just that allowing that say, okay, this is the pain, but without going into the story of what this pain is and what it's doing. If we can just watch that pain, watch that sensation definitely changes. So I have experienced part of that, and so that's one of the main things that comes up. The second hindrance is ill will. That is having, like, we are basically judgment of ourselves, or judgment of somebody else that will come. So something is there, which is making us, maybe we may be impatient, we may be frustrated, because we'll not see uh, some immediate effect from this, and we'll not, basically, we are not feeling good about doing this. Like, why do I have to do it? If those kind of thoughts come, so then we should be aware of that. So basically, we learn the five hindrances so that we can be aware of them, that these are the things, these are the blocks that will come. But meditation is such a worthwhile pursuit that we get past the hindrances and continue. So the ill will can really become by overcome by practicing loving kindness. If we can practice loving kindness for ourselves, and anything heart opening towards ourselves, or uh, towards the practice itself, that is one thing that can really help. You shift your thing uh, from not being, why, like the question of why do I have to do it, or it's like why do I have to sit. Sometimes we make it like a chore. So loving kindness practices are what will help with this. The third is sloth, which is feeling lazy, feeling sleepy, tired during meditation, and that comes up for me as well. Uh, it comes up like after sometimes right away after sitting for 5 minutes, when I'm just a little bit peaceful, I start feeling sleepy and drowsy, or so the thing with that is, what I've noticed is, one is you can be really tired, you've just not had enough sleep, and your body really does want you to get more rest. So it could be just that, if you can just get your body to sleep enough, get enough rest. If I've slept well the previous night, then there's a less chance that this you know, is gonna come. Not in terms of the drowsiness, but I can still feel bored from it. So that's the other thing. So, but because it makes you so relaxed that sometimes it feels difficult to stay alert and present. And so that's one thing we need to guard against, our sloth. The fourth hindrance is being restless, and that's the primary part of it, right? We are trying to allow our mind to settle and not be overly active, and then sometimes that's the hard part. That's where you sometimes feel hard to focus. The thoughts will come, the worries will come, a lot of distractions might come. For me, earlier, the biggest thing used to keep coming when I would first start meditating would be a to-do list. Like, oh, I need to do this. Like, I'm sitting here, but that needs to get done. So that used to be always coming in my mind. Oh, I didn't do that. When you just sit down to meditate, the list would start coming up. And then just basically, you can be restless from the pain. You can be restless from just the thoughts that's continuing to come in your mind. And so the one thing that will help with this will be, of course, bringing acceptance and contentment, to your condition where it is. Like, this is where I am, and this is where my meditation practice is. So if I can do 20 minutes right now, 15 minutes, then this is, I just be okay, this 15 minutes, I will put aside my to-do list, I will put aside my whatever thoughts, and just try to be present here and now with everything, just allowing everything. And so that restlessness definitely is a big part. And uh, depends on how long you're meditating, it will come. Sometimes you've been sitting half an hour, and then you're like, okay, now I'm restless, like now I've done this. But if you want to keep going through that, cut past that, and go longer. I once did a longer retreat, where I had to sit, uh, like at least every time was a 60-minute sit together in silence. So, and then you could take a little break, but the 60 minutes used to be, so that I used to feel towards the end, like 45 minutes now, can they please, so that restlessness. But then, overall, if we can remember the overarching purpose of why we are doing this, that there is, this is a wholesome skill that we are developing, and and just remembered that this is, it's really worthwhile, that's why we can keep coming back to it. And the fifth hindrance is doubt. And the doubt can be, doubt can be about the teachings, that, oh, is this really this type of meditation? Is this what I need to be doing? Do I need to do something else? The doubt can be about the teacher, like, do we find that this teacher is the right teacher for me? And it is encouraged that you see which teacher you find you will be able to trust. If somebody inspires you, encourages you, and you've seen how they live their own life, right? That is when you will be able to uh, kind of put your trust in a teacher. And so there is definitely some value in evaluating and seeing who's the best teacher for you, who you can trust, and then go with that. And once you go with a teacher, then trust that, okay, I have done my this thing, and this is the teacher I'm practicing with now. And then you know then drop the doubt. And there's this uh, saying, or this attributed to Ramakrishna Paramahans, who was Vivekananda's teacher, and he said that if your faith is true, if your faith is true that this path can lead me, and this teacher can lead me, uh, you know, uh, well on this path. If your trust is true, even if the teacher is not, if the teacher is fake, even the teacher is phony, then also you will still get there regardless of the teacher. So that's a very like a very powerful belief to have. If you can so, and that kind of belief you can have, and then drop the doubt, and not every day, okay, I'm sitting here, but is this teacher the right, is this teaching's the right thing? And you'll keep continuing with that, and not get anywhere in your practice. And the other doubt we have is about our own selves, like, can I do this? Is it really for me? And and many times it will come, when you're sitting, you're like, okay, I've done this enough. I don't know if I need to keep doing this forever. Like, what's the point of it? So those doubts will come, and also the doubt of, okay, I can do to this much. I can bring myself to presence, but can I go any further? Can I go deeper than this? Those kind of doubts will come. And it's basically to have the determination and the confidence. So if you stick with it, then it's only a matter of time, that you will succeed. It's it can be in the beginning, you can feel like it's very challenging, but if you kind of can drop that self-judgment that I'm no good, I can't do this, or I'm probably not doing it wrong, not doing it right, then then you can stay in that negative loop, and that will what will hinder uh, the mindfulness and the presence. So the main point of understanding these hindrances is that this is things that will come. They come for everyone who's practiced before us. And so we just recognize these obstacles, and we kind of overcome them or get past them, right, wherever. And there is an antidote to it, right? That if there is ill will coming, there is doubt coming, then you check, like, if certain teachings do not absolutely resonate, then maybe that's not for you, or maybe that's not for you right now. But to the extent that you put your faith in something, and you with determination and confidence you continue, uh, there's no way that this won't work for you. So yeah, that's about the hindrances. You want to add anything, Smita or Shubham?
No, that's so true. Like, I love what you said about if there is a doubt and if there is a hindrance, there is also an antidote. I found that uh, like again that trust the process is such a big one, because even if you are stuck or even if you're having something, to just trust and keep showing up is what kind of gets you past that, whatever that point of stuckness is. And the answer comes and you kind of surrender and you kind of say, okay, I'm stuck here, I have no clue how to go beyond this, and something comes in, grace comes in, and it sort of takes you through. So that's been important for me to say, okay, this is not working or something is going on, and just to say, okay, trust it, trust that this is somehow important. the restlessness is important, the doubt is important, everything has its place. So in that sense, you kind of, it's an easy way to sort of, you dissolve it, right? Like you kind of get through it by just not resisting even that. So that's been powerful for me. All right, I'll just show the 5 hindrances if it's helpful to like see.
Yeah.
Ah,
Kamachanda,
yeah.
Vyapada.
So the desire, like basically grasping is what they call it, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, and skeptical doubt. So those are the 5 different hindrances to meditative absorption. Okay, so the next thing we wanted to talk about was progression in meditation. And this is very interesting when we say progression, because there is no, it's very hard to say what are those. It's a pathless path, or they also say that, right? It's a pathless path, but still there seems to be a path, and there still seems to be something to do and the next thing to get to, or how do we even approach this, the whole spiritual journey. So this has been an interesting, this is a symbol that in Buddhism they say this is how the spiritual journey looks. The journey is never straight. It goes back, it goes forward, and you feel like you've gone back all the way. Like if you see here, you've gone way back here, right? So many times you're going to feel like you've gone back. So, and that's how it keeps feeling to me like every other day you're like, oh, I've reached this state of gratitude, or I've reached this state of non-reactivity, and the next situation comes up and you're like, no, I'm back in the same place. So so instead of getting disheartened or even checking about where you're at, we didn't even, at one level, we didn't want to talk about this because progression is such a strange thing to talk about when it comes to spiritual journey. But I feel like there's also a place for it, because there is a path that the Buddha, or every tradition in fact, has kind of laid out, saying these are the markers of you've reached a certain clarity, a certain separation, like I was talking about, from your own personality or being caught up. So that kind of helps. So the way they kind of talk about meditation is you go from awareness of breath, is kind of where most practices start. It's interesting that I talk about this because for me, I never started there, but still, I'm going to mention it. For me, somehow that was not what clicked. And that is why it's very hard to say what will work for you. So, for me, one of the things, if genuinely, if you ask me what personally I would talk about, or what I would say about this, is to follow the path of love. It's almost like, what is your heart calling out to you? Like which teaching, which teacher, which practice is the one that really calls out to you? And to just go after that, because then there is no, I have to do it, but I want to do it, right? And that has been the most powerful thing for me. That is where I've found the biggest breakthroughs, or magic literally happen, because then I'm not even trying. I really want to be in that space. I want to do that. So I would say just look around and look for things that are drawing you towards that, right? Um, Having said that, there is a value to this focusing on the breath, because it's something so accessible, ever present. And I do go back to it now. And maybe now I'll appreciate it later. So I have come to the point now that I say, oh yeah, breath is so precious, and how you can just, it's ever accessible. Like we said, like Shubhra was saying, you just touch your feet on the ground and it's ever accessible. Your breath is something that's going to be with you till the last minute, last second. So it's easy to sort of immediately come to that and check what's happening. It's also such a good indicator of your mental state. Depending on whether you're breathing deep, you're breathing shallow, it's such a good indicator of what's going on. And that also helps you regulate. So in meditation as well, that's where they start to say, okay, start with your breath focus. Keep that as your anchor. There'll be wandering thoughts, frustration, moments of clarity. So all of that, but keep coming back to the breath and see if you can make that effortless, right? And the gaps between your intrusive thoughts kind of probably increase depending on the day, right? Depending on what's happening. So there's no, again, no linear path to this, but you'll see that progressively it's easier to do. The second thing is the second sort of stage, or whatever the next thing that happens, is probably you're able to notice much more than your breath. Your awareness sort of expands to include sounds, you can include emotions, you can sort of notice all of this going on, and you can include all of that and without resistance. Even if an emotion is coming up, you're able to sort of stay with that without resistance in meditation first. Um, so can you watch all these emotions pass by like a cloud in the sky? So that's the next step. And then if you can go beyond that to say, can you be, can you rest in that pure awareness as you tap into the fact that there is what is happening and there is an observer or there is awareness. And can you now tune into that and just stay in that? So there are practices like Shikantaza where you just rest as awareness. You're not doing anything. You're just observing without any preference. Or you could also, if you resonate with the path of self-inquiry or Advaita Vedanta, you kind of question, who is this observer? Who am I? What is happening, right? And that takes you on its own journey. Or there is just, or they in the Buddhist path, they also talk about Rigpa, which is non-dual awareness. So awareness resting in itself, right? So you reach a point where you're just awareness. There is not even this separation between the observer and the observed. So the benefits are, of course, that thoughts arise and you're identifying less and less with them, and you don't need a specific object of focus, and even without that you're able to rest and just be present to what is going on. So yeah, those are some of the things that happen. And then of course they talk about deeper states of meditative absorption, which is samadhi. And this is a state of effortless awareness, right? They say that you have a sense of timelessness. You have a sense that you've lost boundaries. You don't feel like you're not sure where your body ends and where, that boundary gets blurred as you go deeper and deeper into meditative states. And again, all of this is I would say it's like a guidepost, but to never be caught up in whether you've hit this stage, because as we know, each of this is so impermanent, including these states are also impermanent. So you may reach this stage in meditation today, but maybe a week later you've not, or a month later you didn't practice anything, and then you're back into your reactive mode, and and you're the same person who had that experience, but that experience was that one experience. So at one level, we don't get caught up in experiences. We kind of just stay with the practice. You come back and you practice, you come back and you practice. But it's still helpful, especially when you're going through these different stages or different points in your practice. It's helpful to have a certain guiding post, like to say, okay, this is what I'm experiencing, and kind of helps your mind kind of calm down. And if you have questions, it's great to have a teacher to like check with and say, this is my experience. And if you're getting anxious about anything about what's happening in your meditation practice, so I think in that sense it's helpful to know some of these things. But otherwise, trust your process is very, very the go-to mantra for me when it comes to practice. And yeah, and just trusting your heart and trusting your inner guidance to say what is the right next step for you. Who is the teacher? What's the practice? I also want to touch upon different, one of the practices is the mantra practice, which has been another dear one to me, which also initially I thought I don't like. So it's interesting that initially when I used to like to just sit quietly and meditate. I thought I don't like this mantra because it's intrusive. It's like I have to chant now, I have to open my mouth and say something. But then, so for a long time, I used to just listen. I still love listening to a chant and just meditating on that. But I've also found value to actually chanting. So it depends on the day, depends on what's going on, depends on your mind. If you can check, you get good at which is the right practice for today, right? And so the chanting helps you in a way that it gives you a good anchor, like breath does. It's even more powerful because it's holding onto your auditory sense as well. So you return to that sound and you just focus on chanting. So your mind is not getting a lot of space to move here and there. And you're coming back to the chant. You're just chanting. Similarly, the Mahasati practice, if you've heard about that, where there are simple body movements that we make, simple short movements. And again, the idea is to stay focused on or pay attention to that particular movement and not get lost in thought. So these mindfulness practices are, it may feel, I don't know, depending on your personality, it may feel attractive or not, but it may also be that sometimes it's not attractive, but it's the right thing for you. Sometimes I focus on Mahasati when my mind is too much all over the place, where you're like, there's no space for any other thought. You just focus on what your movement is and just keep your attention there. And doing that for a while, or even chanting, can bring you back to the present moment and not let your mind go all over the place. And then maybe you're ready for being quiet and just practicing. So you start with a chant, you start with a Mahasati, do it for a 10-15 minutes, and then you get into just being silent, like a shikantaza or a rikpa or a non-dual like inquiry or whatever it is that you like. So that's been my kind of experience with this progression topic. Anyone else wants anything to share? Please add.
I just want to add that the benefit of the whole process of doing it together in the group is number one, accountability. That you set aside a time, treat it as self-love. If it is something that you have tasted before, that you have ever done any meditation and you've ever touched that state that you felt better, that you were able to handle any situation that was coming during that day much better because you gave that 5 minute 10 minute even a small time to breathwork and meditation, and you touched that and you know that it's good for you. Then it's for you to come to a practice where you become accountable. If you don't show up, we check on you. How are you doing, and you come back to it, and you also see that there is authentic sharing. There are people who are in the same boat, not, and there are many many ways to meditate, and you get to choose what is right for you for that day. There's nothing, you're not signing up for life that I'm going to do shikantaza or I'm going to do just breath work meditation. You can do so many different things on so many different days, and you can just be with a group who is in the same boat as you. And one day your energy becomes the anchor, the other day the other practitioner's energy becomes the anchor, and then there are the teachers and our teachers, and there are books we can read. There is so much power in the group when you come together and you practice. And if you have ever tasted that, I would say give it a try. There are different practices that we are going to touch upon and see which one suits you better, and they're always recording, so you can go back and see if you only like one particular one. But the power of being together is something I think we all feel is really something that we can all benefit from. And it's very hard to find that in your normal group of, friends and relatives, because we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about authentic things. And I'm not saying about moving away from, as Smita was saying earlier, like, we're not going towards monkhood. We're going towards that calm, the only intention being that we are less reactive or we catch ourselves when we are doing something, right? The same things will happen again and again, but our reaction varies on the state of mind we are in. And this practice of meditation, even for a half an hour in a day, even for 15 minutes in a day, gives us that anchor to come back to, like feet on the ground, the deep breathing, or whatever you may want to call it. I even like doodling mindfully, just with the breath. Because, I mean, as you may know, I like love art. So with the breath in and breath out, I like to make strokes. And just that 5 minutes of mindfulness also. So we'll be sharing a lot of these practices, and we would love for you to come and try with us and see what works for you and share your energy and your thoughts as well, because that's always precious.
Yep. Thank you, Shubhra. Um, all right. So, Puneet, you want to talk about the next thing? Let me
So
share.
one thing that I want to add to, what you were saying, Smita, is that, like if you look at it in terms of like how people go to the gym and exercise, and then, you say, okay, you know, when I go work out, I know it makes me stronger, it makes me healthier, I feel more energy, I feel that much is for sure. But then, and I'm just using this, maybe it's not exactly correct, the analogy, but you say, okay, I want to get to where I see my six pack abs. That's probably you see samadhi, or you get to that state where, you experience things of that nature. And it can be there. It's very good to get to the point where you say you have become so ripped that you can see those. But those abs, even the people who have them, like who actually show the six pack ab, for them also it's not a lasting situation. When they eat and drink like normal, they don't see them every day also. So that experience is like, while it's ideally you would want to get there to pass the jhanas and get to a samadhi state. But I think that it can be, or it depends how deeply, how far you want to go. But I feel you can just, even when you get glimpses of that and you get enlightened in that way, there's definite value to that, without like totally running after that. Oh, I have to get into samadhi at every meditation. That is, I think, just we have to, like I said, being kind to yourself and see where you are, and which day where you are, right? On days you might be that determined that you sit through everything and get past that to see that point, or you may not. So
Yeah,
just
no, it's very
holding that
interesting.
lightly, holding those experiences like, I have to get to samadhi, I have to get enlightened, very lightly.
Yeah. No, it's very
That's
interesting
the way it will work.
you say that because you don't even know what you're working with, right? Like, especially in this case, it's not just about this lifetime. Maybe you have lifetimes of things, or maybe you're ready for samadhi, you're ready for whatever, and you have no way to know this. So you just kind of stay with what you've got and you practice, right? So in that sense, it's hard. It's such a interesting thing to not put this idea of progression, and still it's important, and you kind of hold it lightly, like you said, instead of saying, yeah, this is what I'm going for. Again, I kind of see it as you work with how your mind is. If your mind is going to get calm down by saying this is the goal and it's a kind of attractive to you, then you kind of do that. If it's going to get overwhelmed and it's going to be like, oh my God, this is like an impossible goal, then don't go there, right? So sometimes for me, it's like unburdening to say, tell me that I have nothing to do, there's nothing I need to do, just surrender to grace. And I'm like, yes, this is the practice I need. And for sometimes it's like, no, I need that push to like say, this is what you'll get or whatever it is. So you kind of check your own mind and you work with it, I think.
Yeah, no, that's what, it's definitely worthwhile. It's a worthwhile ideal to
Yeah, of course.
have, as work towards, like, the progressively work towards a very worthy ideal, that you could keep that, but
Yeah,
hold it lightly.
true,
Uh,
true.
and those
Correct.
are experiences one, as it is, it wouldn't share, or wouldn't, like talk about it really. So that's really for yourself. So yeah, and just to make it a little more accessible, we'll now talk about what do we do beyond the cushion. Like, how does meditation take us, or like where does it take us when we're done, with our practice? And it's just, is it the 10, 15, 30 minutes that I'm sitting in the cushion in the morning? And then how does it uh, go on into the rest of my day? uh, because many times we might be, there might be days, like, well, I have days when I'm not able to get even 15 minutes in the morning. And then you just eat a few bites of your breakfast mindfully. Just have, hold your tea and drink that mindfully. That, okay, this sip of warm tea is, I'm just drinking this, and just notice that very vividly, very clearly. Just those, where we can bring mindfulness into other activities, could be through eating, could be walking. Like, we just have to walk from here to my kitchen, and I could just uh, walk that much mindfully. right? Bring that awareness. Okay, this is where I am. This is how my body is right now. This is what's in my mind right now. And just that, those 20 steps or back and forth 20 steps a couple of times, just within your room, within your house. Those things, you can just bring, some simple ways. If it's really you've not been able to. Many times I'll do it during driving. So I'll be driving, and with one hand I'll do a little bit of Mahasati if my mind is too this thing, or and I'll just bring myself back to what's going on right now. Because many times I've noticed in my mind, I am uh, on days when I'm very distracted, I'm going from one thing to another, in terms of something is going on. Like I'm playing something in the background, I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm listening to somebody, or I'm watching something, an audio or some, and then constantly I'm consuming something, some content, some like TV is going on, or so all that stimulation. So just for a couple of minutes we can stop the stimulation, all external stimulation. We can just stop and just be with ourselves. So just that internally what's going on, that coming back, it's is a very useful thing. If you have more time and you don't really want to practice, you don't want to sit on your cushion, you could just even journal. Where am I right now? How am I situated? What's going on in my mind? Just those thoughts and putting those down, that can be a very useful way. And the other thing, what I will say is that, and this I've learned, and kind of experienced also, that we are not good judges of our practice. So we shouldn't say that, okay, I didn't have a good practice. I sat for 30 minutes today and my mind was all over. And that's perfectly fine. That day where your mind was completely all over, that was the practice that day. And there will be, many, many, many days like that. And then there'll be one day when you will be like, oh, I am so peaceful through such a difficult situation happening today. Now I'm like, so it's like one day you have a payday. Like you work all day, on the first of the month, the second day of the month, and you work all day from, morning to evening, and you get nothing for it. You get nothing for it. And then, after 2 weeks of just constantly practice, one day you get your salary, right? So you worked all those days and you're like, oh, for nothing I'm working, nothing I'm getting. But one day you will get that paycheck, right? So it's like the payday will be on a certain day, and then you will realize that, okay, this how much, all that work paid off. So yeah, that's what I would say. If you want to add also, Smita or Shrika.
I was saying, I was just reminded of how, like, Nitya always says that when you think nothing is happening, most is happening. That's the line that was coming to me as
Yeah,
you
I know.
said
I thought
that.
of that yesterday. Yeah, good
And,
point.
and that is so true also. Sometimes meditation can be very frustrating. It's not, we shouldn't judge it for sure. Like, and sometimes you may think, oh, great meditation. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm sometimes confused. I slept off or something. Like, I was in a family where I saw meditation from the beginning. Both my parents used to meditate, my nanaji used to meditate, and everybody used to just sit. So I was like, I was forced into many retreats. Like, as a child, also we'll go to different places in Uttaranchal, and we'll be like, I'll be just sitting because I'm so bored and there's nothing to do. Everybody is meditating, so I'll go like in the morning or whatever. So I've done that a lot as a young child, like without knowing. Like I'm talking 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, onwards, 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 throughout always. And I always knew this, but from I would say 2020, more, or maybe before that, but very regular practice helped. But it has always been a roller coaster. So I always take it like the earth is round, right? So you keep coming back to the same circle, even though I've always known or done it, and then without realizing the importance first, but then later on, realizing that, okay, when I was meditating, there was something deeper there. And to go back, and it's not linear at all. It's like, but that's what I was saying. If you've tasted it and you liked it in any which way, in any which form, then, and it can be so many ways of meditating, right? Doing anything mindfully is meditation to me. And it just, coming to the breath is definitely the easiest. Breath or the earth is definitely always accessible. Mantra, as she said, beautiful. But when Smita chants, I would love to hear that. I don't know how much about my own chanting, but yes, it does. It does whatever works, whichever day. And for me, doodling or we have done these different art activities. They also always help. And in the moment of super anger and all that, just going to the restroom and taking a bio break and just breathing deeply there. So it's not going to be a thing where, you're lighting up something and sitting by that. Sure, by all means do that. Like it helps, but also it's an ongoing process. And I think as much as you will come back to these things that we are trying to introduce or offer, or we already maybe already know, but still just taking out that time to practice, it will help. That's what I think. So no practice is bad practice. Anything works. Just as long as we can say that consistency, I think, is the number one, for me, the number one virtue, because that's where I find that if I do anything consistently, I get, better at it. But that is the hardest thing for me. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but so these kind of things where you have more people doing it, like for example, this Beezen, it has my mind is automatically like, okay, Sunday morning at this time, I am in this space. That itself has been such a blessing to be consistently mindful this hour, no matter what. So, right? Like Smita or Puneet will probably agree, like we wouldn't have been. I know all my Sundays at this time what I did, and I was mindful, and I'm grateful for that. So,
Yeah, definitely.
right. So, any building, any practice, I think it's a great idea to be with a group of
No,
like-minded
that
people.
I cannot agree more. And at least maybe there are people who are self-driven or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And but for
yeah,
me, when it comes to this and a lot of things, I love to put systems in place. And a system is nothing but, okay, this is the group and this is the course I've signed up for, and I kind of do it. And I know that I'll do it. Then it
yeah.
happens no matter what's going on. Pretty much I'm good at showing up like that. If somebody is expecting me to show up. So this whole initiative, like Shubhra said, that's our primary reason to start it, to say, okay, we'll show up here and we'll benefit ourselves, benefit others, but there is a reason to show up. Otherwise, life has a way of putting 100 million things in your way and taking away your attention. So, putting these systems in place, like joining a course or signing up with a group or things like that, really help me, or having an accountability partner to say somebody will check on you. Things like that definitely help. And in terms of going beyond the cushion, and same, it's like being in the life stage that we are, being moms, being working people with families, it's very hard to say I will find 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day consistently, or even 20 minutes a day sometimes. And so there are these hacks, like, I have simple things like things written on my phone which say, which is important reminder. Like I look at it, and so I have something like, what if this is the most perfect moment of my life? And what's wrong with right now, without referring to thought or memory. So it immediately brings me back. Like if I look at my phone and I say, okay, even if I'm in a messed up state of mind, it kind of switches back. So a meditation is, like we said, like we've been sharing in our poster recently for our course, it's not about emptying your mind. It's just about your ability to be with your thoughts, be with your feelings, be with whatever is happening in life. And it could be the worst thing. You might be in a mess, somebody's screaming at you, or maybe you are screaming, but you're almost like, what happens is there is a separation of, like, you're aware, you're shouting, and you come back, and you don't come back after you're done. You don't have so much judgment towards yourself. You're much, much kinder to yourself. And that's the only journey that I have seen happen. It's not like after that you'll be like a neutral person who has no other emotions apart from happy and smiling. It's just that your ability to come back to that equanimity gets better. Your reactivity is the ability to pause improves. And then, of course, the ability to be kinder to yourself, even when you are not in that state, improves. So, those are my markers. And my simple ways, of course, listen to a chant, through the day. Like even when you're doing something, listen to something that's in that frequency. It's always calming. So, even if I don't technically meditate sitting in one place, I'm listening to chants, I'm looking at things, I'm reading things. Reading a page a day about when related to something like this also brings you back into alignment. For me, it's been the most powerful meditations have been about a shift in perspective, where you're like, even simple things like what is the story you're telling and can you drop it now is something that can immediately unburden you and bring you back into the present moment. So for me, those have been the most powerful meditations. So yeah, so Puneet and I are planning to sort of hold that space in that course. So uh, and yeah, and as part of this reason, of course, all three of us are doing it, but we'll be the ones sort of holding space and with the whole group. The group energy is what drives and determines what we share. This is what I've noticed time and again. And so looking forward to seeing some of you, of course, there. Those who are live, those who are listening to recording, because that's what we'll aim to do. Come there, practice ourselves. Like we told you, that's our own hack to make sure we practice twice a week. And so that's what it's going to be about. Sharing different techniques, simple tools like this that have helped us, and just staying with each other and making sure we are aligned, like Manisha said. Can we keep coming back into alignment? Puneet, you want to add?
I'm saying this entire Beezen journey, the way it started is, I don't know where or how it came about. It was like something, like some energy between the three of us, and something, from somewhere else came and got us started. And that's how this course is also coming about. It's, like very organically it's coming through that, okay, like, let's offer this now, and let's open it up in this way. So it's when we have these discussions and these things come up, I feel really I couldn't have, I finished a teacher training, meditation teacher training course in 2023, and a lot of things were happening that year. I lost both my in-laws in that year, and so I didn't even think that I'm going to, okay, start teaching. I thought, okay, now it's gone, I left it, and then it came back on its own, in its own way. And uh, I was just thinking that how it came back without even me trying, that now in 25 I'm like, we are ready to offer a course here. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
just been the journey. Just wanted to share that.
No, that's beautiful. Life has
And
its.
we didn't do a practice. I think we are past time today. So I will record. I have a meditation that I was going to do with us, an open awareness practice that I was thinking. So I will record an audio and send, whoever wants can practice with that.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
All right.
Well
Uh,
said.
Anything y'all want to add, questions?
Anybody wants to share? Zainab, first time you've joined us. Anything you want to share? I don't know. Oh, hi.
Hi, I've just been listening with great concentration. It's all, of course, familiar, everything you know, but then when you all are very good at putting everything. I've attended a number of your sessions on various things, and especially the one I really enjoyed was the one on the bach flower remedies. And whenever I can, because I'm also amongst different time zones and with various commitments, children, parents, and all that, household, pets. So whenever I can join, I do, even when, even if I can for a short while, or if I just have to put myself on mute and put my camera off. But I think I will also join you on your whatever you're gonna do twice weekly, or if you send out the recordings, then definitely do it because I don't have a very fixed practice, but of course I do a lot of the things that you all have mentioned. So it's nice to do it in a more organized way, and I like a lot of the things that I heard today.
Yeah, I love.
Thank you from all
Thank
of
you so
you.
much for joining, and thank you. I mean, so many people are silent presence in our group, and like you probably come a few times, and we don't know. So when we see you and we hear you, we feel good. Like, okay, there's another person in
Yeah,
our.
I'm always listening very closely,
Okay, great. Thank
and
you
I
so
also make my and I always make my notes on. So I'll made my notes today. So a lot
lovely.
of the things just I loved the way you all put it.
Thank you. And I don't know if you
Various
have an
things.
interactive group, you could even share that out there so that like benefiting the whole larger group if you feel like. Even
Okay, wait, let
snippets
me
of your
see.
notes, maybe.
Okay, so I'll just read out my note
Yeah,
for
sure.
today. I try and make it very succinct because I actually go back to my notes. So if I have very lengthy notes, then So trust the process. Distraction and thoughts have their own place. If your intention is sincere, the teacher can be a fake. It doesn't matter. You would reach where you need to. Surrender to grace. Progressively work towards a worthy ideal. If you're always consuming content, then try to stop the stimulation and be with yourself. Journal. And what if this is the most perfect moment of my life?
Awesome. Great. Love
Nice.
it.
That's a good summary.
Yeah.
Thanks, Janab, and thanks
At
for your
least,
kind
at least this
words.
is what impacted me a lot. I mean,
Yeah, no.
this is what I would like to remember whenever I mean, I will go back and read these.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Jana,
Thank you.
for joining and
Thank you
sharing.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
And Anita says
Take
her
care.
throat is hurting today, so otherwise we usually get to hear from her as well.
Yeah, I know. Praveen, I don't know if you're in a place to talk.
Such cute puppies.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the session. This was very useful. So I'm also planning to join you all on this meditation journey.
Awesome.
And yeah, I also always believe in the group energy, especially in spiritual things. It's always so much better than doing it alone, or, the group energy is great.
Yeah, no, the Buddha said the Sangha is one of the jewels, the three jewels. So, and I totally believe it. It is the Sangha or the people on this path with you who are walking are the ones who bring you back, right? And who can actually even mirror to you what is, if you're sort of thinking, okay, I've reached this point, they can show you where you haven't. Or if you're sort of underestimating yourself, they can push you on and see, hey, no, you're great like this. So it's a beautiful thing, having a sangha, having people to practice with. It's a beautiful gift, and I definitely have been grateful to Nitya, grateful now that we are able to create it. So yeah, it's wonderful. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much,
much, everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.